Hello, everyone. Good to have you, and warm welcome to this very exciting one-hour panel on pay TV operators OTT D2C strategies. We're focusing on the latest developments, especially in the area of network operators, what they're doing in the OTT market. And as we all know, it's a tremendously growing market, especially this year, triggered by the crisis and lots of new operators, new companies launching in the OTT market with AVOD and SVOD services. And we'll be talking about the role that you're playing in this increasingly competitive market. And I'd like to welcome the panelists. We have 5 panelists today, so it's well justified to have this extra long panel, and I'm sure we'll be able to fill that time with no problems at all. Welcome, Mireia, head of the entertainment manager for TV and video partnerships at Telefonica. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have Baris, he's the director of media and entertainment brands at Turkcell. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
We have Olivia, the head of product management TV at VOO.
Hey, everyone.
And Guilhem, the strategy director, digital entertainment at Orange.
Hello, everybody.
And number 5 in this exciting round is Mattias, sales director at Accedo.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks. So you can see it's we are covering lots of different markets and different parts of this industry. And in order to bring everyone in line with the companies and their services, I'd like to ask you first for a very brief statement on your company and its role in the OTT market. Mireia, let's start with you first.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the opportunity to participate in this significant event. On my current role, I'm working as an entertainment partnerships manager in Telefonica Digital, deploying partnerships with OTT players across Europe and Latin Telefonica countries from commercial and integration point of view.
Baris.
Yes. Hi, my name is Baris. I'm currently working for the leading mobile operator in Turkey, Turkcell. And I manage the TV brands, TV Plus. And we are operating both in pay TV and OTT, both. And today, I'm here to discuss how to make the transformation from pay TV to OTT. Thank you.
Olivia, over to Belgium.
Yes. So hi, I'm Olivia. I'm responsible for the product management of both Box and all our OTT platforms, including all the content strategy. So VOO is a cable operator at VOO, operating in the southern part of Belgium, so the French-speaking part. Our neighbors are Telenet on the Flemish part.
All right, interesting. An interesting market, obviously. We'll stay with French-speaking markets. And Guilhem.
Hello. So, yeah, I work for Orange France, which is the leader in telco market in France. I'm in charge. I'm deputy director of the business unit in charge of TV and entertainment, and specifically in charge of strategy and doing partnership with OTT actors.
Thank you. And Mattias, where are you based?
Yes, Stockholm here. So Accedo, well, first of all, we're not an operator. We are a global company that's been around for 15 years, and we create, build, manage online video and streaming services, and working with the operators and content owners and media companies of the world, basically.
So you're basically the B2B service provider in the middle to ensure that all these OTT services reach the audience in the best possible way.
Yes.
Let's start to focus on the content, because obviously that's something or the really most interesting proposition from the consumer side. As we all know, the consumers aren't that much interested in technology. Technology is at its best from a consumer's perspective when it's invisible, when it doesn't cause any trouble. That also refers to us, because we're all users of our technology as well. So it's the content that the consumers are interested in. And obviously, with so many European markets now involved, the question is, what's the viewer looking for? What's the sort of content that's most attractive for them? Is it exclusive content, local content, and what's your content proposition? Or in other words, what's your content strategy? Mireia, let's start with you.
Okay. I forgot to mention that Telefonica is also main operator in Spain, and we are present in other countries where we are also leaders. Our OTT, Movistar Plus Lite, is the unique telco pay TV operator standalone solution currently in the Spanish market. And as 2020 has been impacted by COVID, we have become a refugee for Spanish during first lockdown, and we have offered up to 2 months free for any customer. This OTT is payable by credit card, and since 2017, Telefonica Group is betting for own fiction content to complement the third-party content from other OTT platforms and third parties. This has been a big success, as many of the series have been renewed for more than 1 season, and several productions have been already imported. The importance of local content produced with titles that you may know, like Money Heist or Cable Girls, have been success globally, and have also pushed the creation of Buendia Studios, which is a JV between Telefonica and broadcaster Antena 3 Media to offer Spanish fiction. This is currently being established in the Spanish market, so we hope to become Buendia Studios hope to become leadership on Spanish content. Currently, Movistar Plus Lite offers 10,000 titles and 20 channels to enjoy live and on-demand content, and is covering a lot of categories, from shows, humor, documentaries, to kids and sports content. And who are the competitors for Movistar Plus Lite? On the VOD side, we have Netflix and Amazon, as in many of the mature markets, and other relevant players are broadcasters like Antena 3 Player and Mitele by Mediaset Group. But there is also a potential streamer that have entered the market recently, the AVOD Pluto TV, that could potentially also still part of the current streaming consumption.
Highly competitive markets with basically all the players we all know being active in Spain, and it'll be most interesting to see the contrast in Turkey, a local market that I believe in some parts very different, maybe down to the cultural differences. Baris, what's the content strategy you're following at Turkcell?
Yes, definitely, Jörn. I mean, content is the main pillar of this business by far. I mean,
Wittgenstein, all that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is the main thing. But yes, I mean, as you said, Turkey is a very specific country in terms of the local culture and the local content. I mean, you can see this effect not only in TV streaming or video streaming market, also in music industry as well. In many markets, I mean, the local movies or local series get almost 85% of the total watching hours in Turkey. Okay, so without Turkish content, you cannot do anything indeed. Okay, so that is the main thing. But the important thing, I mean, between the pay TV and OTT, I mean, even the content strategy may change. Because when we say pay TV, it is mostly, we were talking about linear channels. Okay. But when it comes down to OTT, so at that point, the weight of linear channels decreases. And instead of linear channels, we start to talk about VODs and video on demand series, documentaries, and movies, and even the sports. Okay, so for that reason, when we shape our strategy on the content, we are preparing 2 strategies. The first one for the pay TV, because still it's a cash cow, okay, because we earn from the pay TV, okay. But in order to build the healthy OTT strategy, so we are focusing more on VOD side, and we are trying to get as much as decent VODs, okay, in all genre, and the best recommendation engine. Okay, this is our current strategy, and definitely the local series and local movies as well. I mean, that's Turkey.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that structurally or technically there aren't that many differences, but when it comes down to content, that's where the differences really jump in, and where an operator can't exist without local content, really.
Yeah.
To narrow it down like this, I believe it's a bit the same in France with that local connotation.
Yes, we have the structure of the market in France is a bit the same. So you have pay TV traditional channels like Canal+, OCS, Telefoot, and they own out their OTT strategy. And then you have two new apps which are aggregating free-to-air channels. So there is Molotov, which is a pure player and which aggregates free content coming from free TV channels. They have recently launched their own AVOD service. It's a bit the French Pluto. It's a bit the same. And then there is, since several weeks, we have seen Salto, which is a consortium between free-to-air channels, TF1, France Télévisions, and M6, which delivers live TV, catch-up, and some exclusive content. So this is the French panorama of TV. And our strategy in it is that first, we see that the SVOD services represent as a whole more than 60% of the traffic that our networks are transporting. And their growth represents 80% of the global traffic growth on the internet backhaul, which is huge. So our strategy is to get value not only by transporting this service on the network, but also to be an intermediate between these services and our customers. Okay, so we have put in place this distribution strategy for creating value both for the SVOD services by distributing them to our 30 million customers. Also, it has to create value and benefits for the customer. So it should be more interesting for the customer to pass through Orange to get Netflix, Amazon, Disney+, and the others. So we have built a strategy on that. And at the end, it should create value for us as an intermediary in terms of revenue sharing and so on.
Let's go to the French-speaking part of Belgium, another, I think, highly localized market. And Olivia, what strategy you're following in this competitive environment where there's lots of influence, I guess, from other countries coming in?
That's a very good point. So indeed, Belgium is quite a fragmented market, with the northern part being Flemish and the southern part French. And unlike the Flemish part, which has a lot of local content that they produce, the French-speaking part has been more lazy on that side. So we look at our French neighbors, France. So it's quite funny because our local content basically comes from France. We really much look there. And we have a very close partnership with Canal+. So VOO owns a media company called BTV. So it's the old Canal+ in Belgium, which basically has all the premium content. So after the TVOD all the content comes to BTV, basically. And also we have the exclusive rights of HBO in Belgium with BTV. So that's really where we differentiate in terms of content. And otherwise we look at our French neighbor. So I would say that our entertainment strategy is really twofold. So the first one is really with our cable operator hat, where we push content basically through bundled offers. So our customer can pick really premium content, whether it's BTV, so it's mainly movies and series, of course, but also documentaries. They can pick sports, or they can pick more family content for every premium package. So every 3P, 4P premium package, they can just have this additional extras. So this is really a way where we push our entertainment to our customers. And our other strategy, next to this, with BTV, we have a pure OTT standalone offering. So it really allows us to target different audiences. So for one side, we bundle it with our fixed products. For other, if it's just the content you're interested in, you can go for that pure OTT offer. You don't need to have a broadband product with it. So this offering is called BTV Go. It's been there for a couple of years. And basically combining these two strategies really allows us to maximize our subscription base, because we target different audiences with both, and to be present outside of our footprint. So with this OTT standalone offer, we can go away from our local footprint, which is the cable in Belgium.
Very interesting. I think this comes down to the core of OTT, to give the viewers that kind of freedom and liberty to use any ISP and use different devices, and kind of untie that proposition from the legacy part of being a network operator. And this obviously, I'm sure, attracts a lot of younger people to your services and to your brand. And I think it's a bit of a role model of what a network operator can do, you're showing here, and kind of, trying new bits and seeing what happens and maybe readjusting. I think that's a bit what probably everyone is doing. And that brings me to Mattias, because you have been a B2B a service provider, obviously a more wider view of, the experiences that your clients have made in this very ever-changing market, highly competitive market. Maybe Mattias, you can tell us a bit about the experiences that your clients have made, and perhaps highlight a few use cases where you think this is highly relevant to others, maybe staying at the point, being a point where they want to launch an OTT service and don't really know what to do. They want to learn from others.
Yeah, thank you. This is, of course, very relevant. And Accedo, I mean, building these services and not being an operator, we work really close with operators and advise on strategy, etc. But we're not into the content strategy so much. We get involved in creating the best possible experience with that content. I mean, we see all the operators that we work with do Netflix integrations, Disney Plus. We saw Deutsche Telekom launched this week with RTL. So I think Deutsche Telekom is a prime example of an operator really aggressively going down the OTT way, and it's a very natural step. Going from selling mobile subscription and fixed internet, adding TV distribution. Next thing is content, and then more content, becoming some kind of a super aggregator. It's a natural step to climb in the value chain and be able to kind of defend the position, having that hardware in the living room, because as you all know, there are others that's trying to grab that position. We have Google TV, we have Apple TV trying to be those kind of aggregators. But I think Deutsche Telekom's approach, and what in the news this week, I also found it interesting that they're taking some kind of business models from the mobile world, trying to offer OTT services with a sign up for 24 months. I think that's going to be interesting. I think customers are willing to get a good price and give loyalty for 2 years instead. But let's see about that. But I can also share a couple of examples from the Nordics in terms of content. I'm sure you're aware, there's been a lot of consolidation between operators. Almost everyone has merged or been sold or bought. But there also been action on the content side. And of course, the big move was Telia, the number one telco and TV operator, acquiring Bonnier Broadcasting, which included the number one commercial broadcaster here, TV4. Obviously, in the extension to get access to content, exclusive content, and be able to bundle that. At the same time, as a bonus, they're giving the other operators, a hard time when they're doing the new distribution deals here. There seems to be trouble all the time. Another thing that Telia has done that's really interesting in terms of content is that they acquired the two examples. One, the premium way, they acquired the hockey rights league in Finland. and hockey is by far the #1 sport. So that's the content gold in Finland. And with this, created standalone direct-to-consumer services, branded experiences for the fans, but also, of course, bundling it into the kind of TV portfolio that they have. So that's one example. The other example is something they've done in Sweden. They partner up with a platform for sports called Solid Sports. And that is, in short, it's like a YouTube for sports, where clubs, small clubs that don't have a lot of money can broadcast their own productions, and it's a revenue model. But the interesting thing here is that they partnered with Telia, so you can actually access that type of long tail content, so you can watch your Series 3 football local club. So it's a local content. So two extremes of content strategies, and I don't have the numbers, but Telia is doing really good in terms of the TV business. But I mean, looking at the future and types of content, I'm constantly thinking about Formula One. You can see Formula One on a lot of platforms, a lot of distributions, but if you want 20 cameras, you want all the stats, you have to go to their own direct-to-consumer. So looking ahead, is it going to be enough for operators just to add content, or will you have to go, to that extreme as Formula One to kind of satisfy the hardcore fans? It's an interesting question, I think.
Yes, there's never a standstill in this market. It's just keeps changing, and this was very good market overview you gave us here, and great examples also with Deutsche Telekom, what they're doing. That's my background, being based in Germany, and I've been following that with great interest. Deutsche Telekom, one of the biggest players, really, just doing this game of trial and error. You wouldn't have seen that 10 years ago. And I also think that what we have seen now in basically most markets is that the legacy telcos, first in their OTT, in their first OTT experiments, they try to serve you on a plate everything within a walled garden and say, look, this is my great content proposition. You take it or you don't take it. And then this walled gardens suddenly got little openings, little gaps, where Netflix and Amazon and so on came in, and that turned the telcos and their OTT services from a walled garden into an aggregator role, I think, where they want to say, look, we're not the only ones in the world. Okay, we've realized that we can't do it all. We embrace the others, and the benefit for you is that you only have one person to talk to, one bill, one service provider, and one user interface. And I think that's been an interesting development because, and this brings me to the user interface and user experience part of the discussion, the best content in the world won't be seen, viewed, or accessed by viewers if they can't find it, or if it's just annoying trying to find it, and they'll soon turn their backs at your service and go somewhere else. And we've seen lots of companies setting benchmarks, new benchmarks in the user experience to the benefit of consumers. And Mireia, what's your role, or what's your strategy in the user experience field? What's the experiences you've made, and what's the proposition you're offering?
Yeah, in Telefonica case, we try to have an homogeneous experience across pay TV and OTT, differentiated obviously by the amount of content and some functionalities that are more specific for pay TV. OTT is adapted to consumption habits inherent to device, the place, and the moment that the user is going to consume. So in terms of app OTT content discovery, we have we present different launch points. We have some highlights on the home, carousels to scroll down, and different categories to be discovered on the typical menus. Furthermore, Telefonica has extended or in-house voice command aura, like Alexa or Siri, to search for content, plus the type-in search, and we have 4 personal profiles in order to facilitate the recommendation functionalities. our service still combine a mix of editorial content and also automatic recommendation outputs to offer a more personalized service in order to meet user content expectations and shorten the decisions about what the consumer want to see. Opposite to Telefonica OTT in Latin America, or OTT called Movistar Play is incorporating VOD, third-party VOD apps like Netflix or Amazon. We also use their editorial recommendation and navigation of metadata in order to push the discovery of content across an homogeneous OTT experience before the customer jumps to the final apps. I think that as globally the user consumes more and more streaming on the video, on the mobile, and just a small part of this is occupied by the live TV, there is a need for pay TV to grow on that sense.
Yes, very interesting insight. And Baris, what's the situation like in Turkey? Is the user interface just as important over there?
Yes, UX also another important topic for video streaming or pay TV and OTT business. At the beginning, we tried to establish, just a fix, and at the beginning we didn't want to replay too much with the UX. Okay, we just want to create the higher adaptation. Okay, because for the Turkish audience, you cannot change too much the UX and or design of your application. It is very tricky thing. But especially when we see that the audience, when they get used to watch more videos, more VODs, and more channels, then we started to add new features, and we started to change some feature sets and UX. Okay, not 100% changes, and especially with the recommendation engine development. Really, maybe our growth rate in terms of the watching hours increased maybe more than 2.5 hours times. So if you create an appealing and with the good color design UX, but at the same time, if you don't hide the contents, and if you show your contents, if you make your contents visible, okay, then it works.
Yeah. And
subscribers continue their subscription, and you continue to make money.
Don't hide your treasures.
No, because content is expensive also in Turkey. It is the most expensive part of this business.
Absolutely.
And when in terms of the UX design, we always consider the first thing is content. Okay, we want to show as much as content and the best content and customized content for each subscribers, and we change our UX on that base.
As I said it in another panel, basically content is like a gold mine, but it's really not understandable why so many providers make it so difficult for the viewers to dig into this treasure chamber and find the jewels and the treasures. Olivia, what do you do in Belgium at VOO to make it easy for the consumers to find the treasures?
So we actually really recently launched a pilot phase of a new project called the VOO TV Plus, which is a personalized unified experience on box and OTT. And we shared the same facts that you mentioned at the beginning, meaning that basically we were really facing this major content discovery crisis, because we were really wondering why people dropped off, why people were saying to us we couldn't find content, because as telco operators, and as some of the panelists mentioned, we all tend to super aggregate all the content. How can they not find it if we all propose the best? And so that's basically where UX and UI becomes key, right? Because, and so basically we identified 3 to 4 main things that make UX, UI really best in class. The first thing, and many people claim it, but the personalized experience, it's not just about a recommendation engine and having a great recommendation tool. It really means that everyone has its own profile. Well, because everyone has its own guilty pleasure, right? I mean, I'm not going to share mine because it's embarrassing, but let's say it's animal documentaries, whatever. It's less worse than what really my guilty pleasure is. And I don't want everyone to either pollute with their own guilty pleasures, my profile, and I don't want it to share it with other people. So that's really where, if you promise personalization, you need to offer profiles. That was really one of our first statements. The second, of course, and Mireia shared it as well, it's a unified experience across all screens. So even if you adapt the UX according to the device, it needs to be unified. You shouldn't hurdle the customer with that. You shouldn't think about it. So technology should be transparent here. Then, and it's nothing new and probably already mentioned, but metadata, we know that content is king, but metadata is queen or emperor, whatever works best for you. It's basically maybe even more important. And so the last thing, and this I think is quite unique to our VooTV Plus experience, is that we really try to take away the hurdle of the source. So as a telco operator, we offer live, we offer VOD, apps, SVOD, TVOD, so many different sources. And in the end, the customer just wants to watch a movie, a series, or a TV show. And maybe the additional, no, and not maybe, actually, the additional information, they certainly want to know if it's part of their subscription or not. So they want to know if they need to pay. But in the end, that's all they need to know. And we really try to take away that hurdle of the source towards the end customer with this new experience.
Thank you. Very, very good overview and lots of important keywords already mentioned, Guilhem. I still want to ask about the situation in France and your experiences with the role of the user interface and the user experience. What have you learned there?
Yeah, sure. I won't add anything to Olivia said about the user interface and the key point of metadata, discovering, search, and so on. Our standard for us are the experience on Apple TV and Google TV, and the main objective is to have something close to this reference. What I can add is the fact that being a super aggregator begins in the physical shop. When you look at the customer journey, our customers, for 50 of the transactions, they are done in physical shops. That's why it's important for us to present the different options people have on the SVOD subscription, including Netflix, Disney+, and so on, so they can choose their subscription in the physical shops. And the retailer can put this option on each customer. And second point is that we are also distributing exclusive bundles. So for example, I will talk about it later, but we have bundles between OCS, which is a pay TV channel, and Netflix. We are going to bundle Disney Plus with other pay TV channels. And it's a good, this is as well part of the super aggregation experience that we're offered. And then third point is the fact that there is a big benefit for the customer, is a way to manage all its subscriptions in one place. So with our super aggregator experience, you have in your customer care service, you can find every subscription you made on Netflix, on Disney+, on the other services, and you can switch on, switch off each service from one single dashboard. So super aggregation is not only about discovery, it's not only about using, it's also about managing and to simplify the final customer experience.
Yes, I think that's an important role of a super aggregator, as we've heard a few times today already, being a telco, making things easier for the consumer, for the subscriber, with all these different VOD and OTT services now in the market. And also reducing, well, making it less complex, really, is more simple, and that is something that helps a lot. And Mattias, is that something you have found in your work with the clients as playing an important role? And generally speaking, the role of the user interface, the user experience, has that grown in importance now with the trend towards the super aggregators, and what's the development there?
Yes, I would say it has, especially, I mean, just look at the Deutsche Telekom example with all the types of content. It is a challenge to expose that in the best possible way, and so that users don't get lost. That is a big challenge. But in terms of making it less complicated, that's what we're trying to do for the operators we work with, right? Because it is a complex world building an OTT service, and especially when you start adding devices after devices and trying to keep them up and running, it's a challenging task. So we worked a long time in the industry and started out with set-top boxes. So those were complex in terms of performance, but and then we kind of became the connected TV expert, because 7-8 years ago they were still very complex, low-performing devices. You could take a set-top box user experience and take that onto a connected TV device and make it work. But sometimes when our customers try to go the other way, from a web or a native iOS app onto a low-performing smart TV or connected device, it comes with challenges. So it's important that you really have a strategy, both in terms of, and there's no one answer for all operators, because everyone is in different markets with different device penetration, etc. But you need to have a device strategy that is very clear, but it also must include the kind of user experience. We see sometimes customers, they're really proud of their iOS app. It has a lot of functionalities and features, and they want everything on the Samsung app. And connected TV devices today, you can have an amazing user experience. They're really good. But sometimes it doesn't make sense to bring all features and functionality, because then again, it gets complicated for the end user, the viewer. They get lost. They still have to, they're pretty happy, with the lean back experience and consume content, because that's what we see. The connected devices for many of our OTT customers are the number one, device in terms of usage. But they want to navigate with a remote, and you need to make sure that they can do that in an easy fashion, right? And it's also important that you, we're talking about the user experience, and we're going to talk about marketing, etc. But it's also that you build this in a smart way, so that you actually can. You've been talking about recommendation engines. There's a lot of insights on content and what they're doing, but you need to make that into actionable insights, right? So you can change things, and sometimes that is not something that's easily done if you operate on multiple platforms. So you need to build smart.
It's a complex world, especially in our industry. Before I come to the next question, just a quick reminder to our audience that you're very much invited to submit your questions. If you've got anything to address any of the panelists or us in general, please do go ahead and use the chat feature, and we'll have a look at your questions and try to incorporate them in this panel. Mattias, you've already mentioned the device issue, hardware. That brings me to the next question, the role of the set-top box, because whenever you look at network operators, they're kind of in a difficult situation. They have their legacy boxes in the market, expensive devices of highly sophisticated hardware. And when I talk to technicians at big companies in the telecommunications area and the cable business, they tell me, we love our set-top box because it streamlines the business. It brings every one of our customers, independent of the device they have in their living room, onto the same level. And we know our box, we know what it can do. It's easy to play out updates and upgrades overnight. And it's basically, we like this kind of less complex market situation that is guaranteed through the box. But then you have lots of pure OTT players who say, look, I don't care about the box. I want to be on as many devices as possible, and I leave the freedom to the consumer to choose the device of his or her choice. And I'm making use of these sophisticated opportunities of a connected TV set, a smart TV set, that basically incorporates a set-top box in reality. I mean, they're all virtual set-top boxes now, these smart TV sets. So this brings me to Mireia. What's Telefonica's view of the set-top box? Has it got a future? And I'm not just talking about Spain, but all the other markets you're in, because as we've learned, it's a very local situation, really, in the end.
So from my point of view, I think that pay TV operators are competing with hardware devices, smart TVs, digital aggregators, and gaming conglomerates in terms of aggregating OTTs. So it's critical, or the presence in pay TV or telco operators in terms of entertainment ecosystem, and leverage that on our commercial capacities. As for example, in 2023, most of OTT, over 50% of OTT subscriptions are going to be done by operators or third-party platforms. In the case of Spain, Movistar Plus Lite OTT is already available on any device, web, smart TV, connected devices, Android and iOS devices. So this is a mass capacity to adapt all type of consumers, and with the goal of TV as main screen still to consume at home. I think this is there is a referral case in the US, Comcast, from 2016, has been leading reaggregating entertainment services, offering a unique showcase for customers in the DECOs, in the set-top box. So there's a great opportunity for telco operators, along with the advancement of media players, adding new services which will generate new income, and even the possibility of creating a digital console. So the operator has a crucial role on creating a simple and integrating single point of contact for proactive customer care also.
Thank you. And Baris, over to Turkey. Turkcell, what's the role of the set-top box? It's really hard to imagine from over here that the role that it's playing in Turkey.
Yes, I mean, set-top box was at the heart of the conventional pay TV business. But nowadays, it is melting. You cannot continue with set-top box.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. But for example, currently we have more than 850,000 active connected set-top box throughout Turkey. Okay. We are the leading IPTV operator in Turkey. TV operator. But when it comes down to set-top box, yes, as you said, that was very nice comment, by the way. Yeah, as a technical point of thing, it seems a bit complicated, but indeed it is much more simple. Okay, to manage this, the streaming or the broadcasting over the set-top box. Okay, but the new world that we are talking in the OTT world is, there is no box. And you have to manage your app, okay, and mobile clients or whatever, in all the devices that you can reach. That I'm talking about PlayStations, I'm talking about local TV manufacturers, global TV manufacturers, all, okay. Otherwise, there will be no growing room for you. So, and our strategy now, in the last maybe, 18 months, we are trying to increase our penetration via all the possible devices. Turkish local TV manufacturers, global TV manufacturers, and also to exist as the other global OTT players with the remote control over the TV as a button. Okay, so so we are shaping our strategy. From the pay TV set-top box to the non-set-top box, a real being OTT player.
Okay. Interesting journey. Does it resemble the journey you're on, Olivia, in Belgium regarding the set-top box?
Yeah, well, it's a bit the $1 billion question, right? The future of the set-top box, because we're
Is there a future?
we're all in that sector, so I hope we all say yes, because otherwise we have problems.
The answer is yes, but.
Yes, but no.
It's always.
Yeah. So basically, I think it's a fact in every country that the set-top box is in decline. That's for sure. That doesn't mean the TV screen is in decline. In Belgium, in particular, we're not a really tech-savvy country. In general, we kind of follow the other countries on the European market. So But even when we surveyed a quite digital active audience, I mean, at least they say they're digital active, 70% of them still said they consumed on a daily basis the set-top box. So that's really huge. So of course, as a telco operator, we need to have an adequate product offering for that 70%, right? It's the mass, and we're not operating on a niche market. We need to please the mass. Of course, there's that other 30%, but that's not the question right now. So here it's focused on the set-top box. And yeah, so basically the set-top box as a cable operator, of course, is more stable from a quality point of view. You mentioned it as well. We can better control it. So I would say that, yes, our strategy is, of course, to focus on the set-top box still, but OTT, or at least multi-screen, because multi-screen is offered in any TV offering we have, is a huge focus, because that 30% that's not using it on a daily basis anymore will only increase for sure. So we need to make sure that we keep up the pace with that. And maybe just the last thing I want to say about the future of the set-top box, I think that we always get a bit of like set-top box that's like old school, but in the end, you always need a hardware, right, to consume content, whether it's a mobile, Apple TV, Android TV. So whether it's called a set-top box or not, it doesn't really matter in the end. You always need a hardware. So, and Mireia was saying it as well, where a lot of people competing on the same playground, aggregating smart TVs, broadcasters, operators. So of course, some will win, some will lose, but I don't expect it to decrease in the coming years. There's the shift we need to accompany for sure in the next coming 10 years, I would say there's a shift.
It's a development, but rather slow development still. When the box is there, it's there. And it's probably hard to convince people of throwing out the box when they're quite happy with it. Obviously, it's taken years to convince them that they need a box. And, you know, the discussion about the second remote control, finally, people are happy with having a second remote control. And now you tell them to throw it out. So, Guilhem, coming from France, which is, as you, if you're familiar with the French market, very much of a set-top box market, coming from the ADSL operators that used to bundle their broadband access with TV proposition, IPTV proposition, and that obviously is done through a box. So what's the situation like in France? Is it time to throw out the box, or does it have a future?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But we have, and anyway, it won't be easy because we have 7 million set-top box users for France. So we have a huge legacy base, which is hard to manage and hard to transform. And what I can say is that we see the growth of OTT equipment on our customer base. More than 1/3 of Orange households have connected to their gateway and OTT equipment, like smart TV, OTT box, Apple TV, Chromecast, and so on. And this is increasing very fast. So we have to win the battle between our 7 million set-top box and this growing base. But it's not, as Olivia said, it's not, for the moment, we are leading this battle now, where people, they look at our STB for 80% of the time, and they spend 20% of time on their other accessories. But we have to accelerate on innovation and on opening our set-top box, maybe with Android TV. Maybe I see that the Deutsche Telekom has taken this direction of Android TV. We are looking at this kind of option, and we will see.
Mattias, an overview from you, being the independent player in this panel. Do you see what's the role of the set-top box? Do you see in the future?
Yeah, a difficult question, but as Baris said, I think currently it's melting. I think that was a good word. OTT is where the growth is, but I agree with Olivia as well that there's a place for hardware in each household. But you know, it's what's it going to look like. I think that when the set-top box can also be some kind of hardware that enables the smart home and a lot of that functionality, and it can also enable next level of personalization by knowing who's in the room, etc. Smart things like that. Then there is a future for a device that might be a set-top box or something else in the living room. So that's really interesting. But yeah, I want to come back to the Deutsche Telekom and their stick, because that's really interesting as a kind of a strategy to reach growth. I mean, if you're Deutsche Telekom, if you're an operator and you have 1,000 stores in Germany, hardware is quite important. When customers walk in the shop and they buy a new phone or they extend their mobile subscription, you can bundle in TV package and hardware. People like getting a little nice box, in this case, a dongle, right? And then it's all about the experience. You should make the onboarding experience really smooth. They go home. I have no numbers on this, but I can just imagine that they have a pretty high rate on, you know, people activating the box, but it's just plug it in and you should basically be logged in. You know,
Okay.
Apple TV does this with operators. They have this zero sign on. I think that's not what you should aim for. So when you walk home with a box and you plug it in, you're already logged into your TV package. I mean,
thank you. There is a quick question to Baris, so I want to make use of that before we finish the panel. What's the foreign content that works really well in Turkey?
I mean, in Turkey, I mean, mostly the action, sci-fi, thriller, and drama works. But the interesting thing is that, I mean, we always get used to have English titles before. But now in the new world, Spanish or the German content or Nordic content really works a lot in Turkey. I mean,
okay.
For example, La Casa de Papel, Narcos from Spain and Spanish, and Dark and Rain, and German and Nordic content. Really, it works very well. And when we shape our content strategy, I mean, we are not only selecting the English-based content. We are trying to select the European, especially German and Spanish content as well. And it works, by the way. And French content as well, it works.
So the market is opening up. That's very interesting. What's interesting to know as well is that we only have 5 minutes left in this panel, or rather 3 minutes. So I want to stay with you, Baris, and everyone just 1 or 2 sentences to monetization and marketing of OTT services. Important factor. What have you learned from your experiences in this regard? Baris.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of monetization, you are asking, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, in the OTT, the tricky thing is monetization. I mean, how to get your subscription, how to keep your subscription base and increase it. It's not easy. The competition is very hard. You have a global and a local competition. And I mean, there are different ways, but the first thing is, as a mobile operator, at the beginning of the business, we are just increased our penetration, we are bundling. Okay, and it's worked very well. Okay, but then you have to stop bundling because it's devalue your brand. Okay, you have to switch to the standalone business. Okay, and the second one is, I mean, you have to target all the audience, not only, I mean, Turkcell audience. You have to cover everyone, okay, in the country. And the third one is you have to increase your number of payment possibilities, options. Yep. Okay, you have to put a different payment models. Okay,
making it as simple as possible. It's
exactly.
We've heard many times today.
Simple. Yeah, exactly.
And Mireia, is it the same at Telefonica that you've learned from monetization opportunities?
Yeah, I think that both strategies, the TV Everywhere and the standalone OTT, are compatible because we are looking for different segments. In the case of standalone OTT, when we want to acquire new subscribers or reach new audiences, especially for people that only aim on mobile connectivity, as Centennial or as number of cord cutting is growing according to 5G development. So it's clear that we have to leverage on our commercial capacities and connectivity to go for these OTT offers.
Thank you. Olivia, what have you learned with regards to monetization?
I think that contrary to Baris, in order to, as a cable operator, as I mentioned, we bundle with broadband. That's what works. And so we actually try to target a more niche segment as well, since we're always focused on mass. And I'm sorry, I keep on saying things we launched, but we launched quite some things the last few months. But we launched
trial and error.
A sort of sub-brand called Zuni. We call it l'enfant terrible de vous. It's like the terrible kid of vous. And there it's really targeting a very young audience, and it makes that we can really adapt and have a very specific tone of voice in the marketing, in the communication. And the main objective is basically to expand our subscription base, that's for sure. And that's what we're trying right now. To kind of go away from the brand vous, while it's still vous with a specific brand vous. And I think that the team that worked on it did it really well. So I plus other people than myself.
Expand the brand, expand the market, and tap into new audiences. Guilhem, what's the marketing and monetization strategy at Orange?
So I talked about it earlier, but we have launched 3 weeks ago this package between OCS with HBO series and Netflix with a discounted price of €4. It's a huge success. So we have more than 20K subscriptions. Netflix told us that 70% of these new subs are new for them, 70%. So it's a good way for us to recruit new customers. It's a good way for us to monetize and to get value from Netflix and OCS. So I think we are bundling content together. This is our strategies. It looks to work quite well. That's only the beginning now.
Thank you, Mattias. What would you recommend your customers if they ask you about monetization?
Well, in terms of marketing OTT services, and well, I can take another perspective on this, since we're in the business of building and managing services. You know, on the operational side, to stay competitive and to be able, that means, you know, have low operational costs, but also being able to make quick changes. What we see coming right now is a higher degree of products in the mix when building OTT services and standardization. But, you know, it comes from the bottom, and the tier 1 operators are here in terms of complexity. So this will take time, but we can see signs that also operators are looking into more standardized, more productized solutions. And when this really comes through, then there's a totally new playground for operators to really become personalize their services and become more competitive.
Very interesting, and thank you very much for these insights, dear panelists, and thank you for watching this panel. I hope you've learned just as much as I did. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Jörn, for this interesting last session. We have now arrived at the end of these 2.5 days of conference. I would like to seize this opportunity to thank all our sponsors for their support and collaboration. A big thanks to all our speakers for their participation, and special thanks to our moderators. And thank you very much, and see you next year for the 5th edition. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.